The New York Mets have won a series for the first time in about a month, and the vibes, at least for the time being, feel pretty good. Welcome in another edition of the Believe in Mets podcast. That is Jack McKessie. I'm Chris Schubert here. All things New York Mets today on the pod. A series win against the Kansas City Royals. Clay Holmes wants to stick around. Will the Mets get themselves an extension done between now and the end of the season? And the latest trade rumor buzz. Jack, how are you, my friend?
Chris, you said it. It feels good to win a series. Feels good to play against a team like the Royals, who is similarly struggling this year and at the bottom of MLB's overall standings, and come away with a series win that felt pretty convincing for the Mets, especially on the offensive side of the ball. It was just a nice, refreshing change of pace from what we've seen for the last month of Mets baseball.
29 runs in 3 games against the Kansas City Royals, kind of skewed by, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm adding the Royals 16 runs. So 12 and 6 is 18, 25 runs in 3 games. Again, kind of skewed by the 12 runs scored in the opener of this series. But yeah, the offense has looked good. Really, the last 2 games of the Braves series and all 3 games of this Royals series. So it's been 5 games in a row where the offense has very much looked the part. And the one game the Mets have lost in this 5-game stretch, I think we can directly point to their pitching being a major source of concern in that game. Just feels good to watch this team. I was telling you before we hit record that it's good to watch Juan Soto. It's good to watch AJ Ewing. It's good to watch Carson Bench, Jorge Polanco back. The lineup when it comes out and you see it on paper, it just feels different. And it's good that feeling is also matching up with the results, or at least the last 2 days. And, you know, in a season that feels lost, 14 games below 500, you look at games like Monday and you're like, that's the reason why the Mets are 14 games below 500, but still good to win a series. They haven't done that in a month, and building a little bit of momentum going into the All-Star break.
Yeah, and this series really felt like, Chris, we already knew that AJ Ewing was here, but this series really felt like a true coming out party for AJ Ewing and kind of a glimpse into the future of the potential that he has as a hitter. Obviously, he's a rookie. Obviously, pitchers might make adjustments over the next few months into his second year of his career, etc. But it feels like the top of the lineup. We already said it last episode, but you're going to be able to easily pencil in AJ Ewing, Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor, Carson Bench, and then, whoever else going forward, and feel pretty confident about that top 4 or 5 in your lineup going forward because of how good AJ Ewing has looked, in addition to obviously what we've gotten from, you mentioned Juan Soto and Carson Bench so far this year, also as a rookie.
7 for 14 in this series for Ewing. The pair of home runs, 4 RBIs. He did draw 1 walk as well, so he's a very good series for him. He's really kind of turned it on since the beginning of June. He's been one of the best hitters in the National League since then. I will make one correction to what you said. You said in pencil. I'm willing to upgrade. AJ Ewing's name in the top of the lineup probably should be in Sharpie up there. I don't think there's any reason why AJ Ewing shouldn't be in this team's lineup every single day. And he just continues to get better and better and better. And listen, I'm not reinventing the wheel with this, what I'm about to say, but in a season that has been so bad and so disappointing and so frustrating, to be here at the All-Star break with a team that's 14 games below 500, it is still very encouraging to turn on Mets baseball and have things to get excited about. And AJ Ewing is probably atop of that list, especially with the way he's playing as of late. All right, let's do our normal breakdown of these games. This first game of the series continued what was a string of games where the Mets decide to play just weird baseball. Every team has this stretch over the course of a season. The Mets have had it over those 3 games, the last 2 in Atlanta, and then this one, a 16-12 game that I joked on the Locked On Postcast, felt more like the Chiefs beating the Jets or the Giants than it was the Royals beating the Mets, with how many runs were scored. 32 hits between the two teams to 28 runs. It got started in that first inning with the Little League home run from Carson Bench that you just felt like, oh, this play going the Mets' way, they're feeling good right now. It went sideways. And, truthfully, this feels like the one game of the season. And I know in general there's a lot of blame to be put on David Stearns for the way this roster was constructed, the lack of options in terms of the pitching staff and everything that's gone wrong. This game feels like Exhibit A if I was presenting my case to a jury as to why this season is on David Stearns, because this loss was on David Stearns. You knew you were going to have a bullpen game because you don't have 5 starters. That's on you as the president of baseball operations for not building a team that had 5 quality starters. It's on you for not building a team that had the depth to withstand some of the underperformances and the injuries that this team has had. But the one thing about David Stearns, we joke about it on the pod all the time, is that he's seemingly always churning a couple of the roster spots towards the end of this roster. And they did make a move before this game to get Matt Seelinger on the roster, but everybody knew that wasn't going to be enough when you consider where this team was at in their usage with their bullpen, and knowing that they weren't going with a traditional starter. And while, yes, Kodai Senga was going to pitch in bulk, 2 relief outings isn't changing how I feel about Kodai Senga. It's still very much a wait and see. And so he set up Andy Green to fail. He set up Matt Seelinger to fail. He set up this entire team to fail. And you score 12 runs and you lose. I put that squarely at the feet of the president of baseball operations, because macro, big picture, he didn't set up this rotation for success this season. But micro, short term, he did not set them up to win this game with the moves that he made.
No, and we talked about it going into the series, Chris, where we said Kodai Senga looks pitchable now because they seem to have found a role that he can fill in this pitching staff, and that is maybe 2 innings, 2+ innings, relief pitcher, no longer going to be really your starter until he can prove he's reliable in that position. Maybe not going to even be a bulk guy because we see how easily and how quickly his arm can get taxed over the course of 3+ innings. And you go into this game, we were talking about, we don't know who's going to start. Fangraphs said Kodai Senga. We both said there's no way that Senga is actually going to be the true starter. Obviously was not. But then you don't have any plan really behind him when Austin Warren looks like he's been overtaxed. And, that's a result of how much they had to rely on him earlier this year in the bullpen. I just wish, or I wonder rather, if Warren was presenting the signs of his forearm issue or his whatever, because I said going into the series, maybe Zach Thornton is worth a call-up if someone is injured, if someone is presenting any kind of symptoms. That's the move that you can make. And so in the micro, like you said, Stearns didn't do enough to set up this roster for this game in particular to feel like you had any confidence in the pitching staff going in, because Senga was not going to give you more than 3 innings, and he gives you 3 in it, and it was abysmal. It's a regression to what he was doing 3 appearances ago back when he was still starting.
And again, it's 3 straight appearances in relief where he's given up the long ball, so he still hasn't been able to, remove that issue. Yeah, I mean, this was just a game where you knew that Devin Williams wasn't going to be available. You knew that Luke Weaver wasn't going to be available. You could probably assume Brooks Raley isn't available. And this is a weird place for Andy Green, David Stearns, and the Mets to be, right? Because they're not going to tell you out loud that the season is over. They won't do that until they get to the trade deadline. So they're actively trying to win games, but David Stearns and Andy Green are not stupid men. They can read a box score. They can look at the standings and they know that the season is over. And they also know that Brooks Raley and Luke Weaver are 2 of the arms that can get them the most at the deadline. So are you really going to roll them out there for a 3rd consecutive day? That's not really in the best interest long-term of the New York Mets. So because they have not been declarative in, hey, we're sellers, hey, the season's over. And again, I don't think they should do that. But because they have not been declarative, you're like, oh, why aren't these guys available? But you understand that, 1, they're not going to pitch guys 3 days in a row. And 2, it would kind of be stupid to pitch them 3 days in a row because you don't want them to get hurt when they are some of your most valuable trade chips. So you weren't using a starter. You were down Devin Williams. You were down Brooks Raley. You were down Luke Weaver. It was, before the game started, it was a recipe for disaster. Then the game played out. Jack, the moment the game was 9-9, I knew they weren't going to win because I could do the math. I was like, they're not getting 15 outs.
There's no more pitchers to record those outs. There aren't any pitchers left.
15 outs is way too many.
Yeah.
And the Mets had a 9-4 lead in this game. Huge day for the offense. The stat that stands out to me, and I didn't actually notice it until pulling up the box score just to make sure. I'm staring at Tyler Tolbert's 5-for-6 game because the Mets apparently just couldn't get him out in the entirety of the series. The Royals had 23 at-bats with runners in scoring position. 23.
That's
a lot.
That's a lot.
I mean, the Mets scored 12 runs and they only had 11.
I will say, like, some of the hits that the Royals had with runners in scoring position, like, I'm thinking of Salvi's on the 0-2 pitch, I think from Warren, that he gets the curveball down and he just golfs it into
Just
left
yeah,
field.
just
I was
dumps
like
it.
having war flashbacks to 2015 in that World Series where it was just like every time the Mets did something, like you were bracing yourself for the Royals to come back because they were so like small ball, bully ball, able to get a rally going, and it felt like some of those hits, like out of the zone, the pitcher makes a good pitch, but the hitter gets a good bat on it. That Salvi one, Caglione had a nice ball that he, what's the word, cut into the away from Soto in left field as well. It was just like everything was flashing back to 2015 with pitcher struggling late and Royals getting clutch hits, Tyler Tolbert going off out of nowhere. It was an unfortunate start to the series, and I was worried that it was going to be a sign of more BS to come in the rest of the outing.
Yeah, and just real quick, the last note on this game, I feel awful for Matt Seelinger. Like, what an impossible spot to be put into as a rookie for the team that you grew up, rooting for and watching. Just an impossible spot. And you felt for him in the moment of like, they're just throwing you to the wolves. Like, he got out of the first inning and the game was basically over at that point, but it was like, oh, he's going back out there again because they don't have anybody else.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was a very good bounce back for the Mets in the second game of this series because, Jack, I know we're not baseball GMs. I know we're not in charge of teams. We're not managers. But having good starting pitching, it actually can help you win games. And the Mets put a starter out there in the second game of the series, and would you look at that? It actually worked out for them.
That makes sense to me, Chris.
Yeah,
I don't know why the Mets haven't done more outings like this from guys like Christian Scott. I don't understand. Are they stupid? Why don't they just do this every game?
Christian Scott was very good in this game. 5 shutout innings, just the 3 hits, the 1 walk, the 5 strikeouts. Could have very easily gone 7 scoreless or more. I mean, he had a ton of innings, and I love that Andy Green mentioned this after the game and what he mentioned yesterday before the finale of this series, that, Christian was really good and Christian deserves to be happy with this start, but it could have been so much better, right? Because he got I think Green used the phrase 2 quick outs. He got a bunch of innings where it was 2 quick outs, like the second inning, first 2 guys out. Then a 2-out walk and a 2-out single. That drives up the pitch count, right? In the fourth, the first 2 outs, a 2-out single to Massey. That extends it. And so those 2 innings all of a sudden stop him from being able to go 6, pitching into the 7th. That's the next level for Christian Scott. I loved that Green pointed it out, and I loved what he said yesterday about the best time to challenge a pitcher, a player, the best time to push them, the best time to maybe critique them is when they're coming off of a good outing the way Christian Scott was, because it's easier to take that criticism. The last thing you want is you get shelled, right? You go only 4 innings, you give up a couple of runs, and then everyone comes in and goes, oh, you need to do X, Y, and Z better. That's not an environment where a player is going to thrive and be able to develop. The way you want to challenge a pitcher or a player is when, oh yeah, you went 4 from 4? Yeah, but you didn't lay off that curveball in the second inning of that at bat. You can be more critical. And I thought that was a great answer by Andy Green, and very much the reason why he's going to go back to his role of, senior VP of player development when this is all done. And it's why he's in that role, because of comments like that.
100%. Like, this game was a really nice win for the Mets, especially offensively late. But I would argue that the story is almost the Andy Green thing after, and the way that as Mets fans, we can feel confident in both his player development role that he's going to go back to and excel in. I think we were already seeing some of the fruits of his labor with guys like Benj and Ewing, McLean coming up and succeeding to the level that they have so far. But also as a manager for a team that is in a completely lost season, like, he's going to be a guy that's still going to push his guys to not slip up on some of the fundamentals, not slip up on trying to improve every day. Sure, you're 14 games below 500. You're almost definitely not making the playoffs. The season is lost. You're in last place in the National League East. That's not a reason for some of these young guys, especially in the core, to take their foot off the brake and not continue their improvement. And I think Christian Scott is the perfect little microcosm of that. He's 27 years old. This is his first full season in the major leagues. And only has like one or two career wins still to his name, but he puts together performances like this that look outstanding. And Andy Reid says, you could have done more. You could have done better. And I think that's exactly the kind of mindset that the Mets need going forward for both the rest of the season and in their long-term player development outlook. The
Yeah,
other thing
and
about this game, Chris, that I want to say really quick is this game, especially out of all the games in the series, felt like the exact kind of game we thought the 2026 Mets would be playing a lot more. The offense comes alive late. Obviously, Dobnak kind of kept them quiet for a long time, but the offense comes alive and is able to put things together. The starting pitching, Christian Scott goes 5 innings scoreless. We said coming into the season that the Mets were not going to get a lot of length out of their starters in this rotation because of how many question marks that they had between Peterson at the time, Senga. Peralta was not a guy that normally went deep into games. Christian Scott. We didn't know that the Mets were going to have any length from their starters coming in. We didn't see it this game. The offense came up and backed up the pitching. The bullpen performed well in relief of Scott. This is exactly the game we thought the Mets were going to be playing throughout the year, and instead, it's few and far between. So we need to celebrate games like this where they play like we thought.
yeah, and the other thing too is you expected this offense to be able to, just find a way, right, with the talent that they had on paper, and find a way is exactly what they did in the 8th inning because they made something out of nothing. I mean, 2 out, nobody on. The next 8 Mets all reached base safely, and they put together a 5-run inning and just completely land the knockout punch late against the Royals. Like it was just out of nowhere. Like, oh, okay, and Jorge Polanco on a bad Achilles,
Right.
beating out his second ground ball of the game is, the type of stuff that you expected this team to do, right? And they did it, and it leads to a win that sets up the rubber match. And, for a Mets team that has not had a lot of good, this series was just a lot of good because they win the finale, and it's a 5-run 5th inning. So it was a 5-run 8th inning on, what was that, Tuesday? And then, no, on Wednesday, and then it's a 5-run 5th inning on Thursday.
Yeah.
And it's Tyrone Taylor, who comes into the game as a defensive replacement because Mark Vientos leaves with an injury. He hits a home run. It's Juan Soto adding on in the 7th with a home run of his own. It's Carson Bench with an RBI hit. I mean, it's just in waves, man. It's just this team, when it's Ewing, it's Soto, it's Bichette, it's Benj, it's Francisco Alvarez, it's Jared Young, it's everybody contributing. Boy, it's just a fun offense to watch. And the other thing that was fun, I know we said we disconnected the service. I know we said we're not fielding any more phone calls. I went into the drawer, I pulled out an old cell phone. Do we make the phone call? Do we reconnect the service? Is Sean Manaea back? Do we let the people know?
Chris, I'm ready. I am ready to, at the very least, I am reactivating my phone plan.
Okay, the phone plan reactivated. Phone call's not being made
on
yet.
The We're Back department because Sean Manaea, I don't have his stats up right now, so you're going to have to help me out here maybe.
I do. I have him up. So what do you need?
Since June, maybe? There's like a specific date where Sean Manaea, his velocity ticked up. I think it was against the Diamondbacks. Ever since then, he has turned back into the version of Sean Manaea from the 2024 season that looked like our ace, the ace of this podcast, the guy who emulated Chris Sale's delivery and turned into a surprise comeback story in the second half of his career. He's looked like that guy ever since. And this game, he almost went into the 8th inning. He pitched so well and so efficiently.
So in April, his ERA was 6.97. We know how bad April was. His ERA in May was 3.75. His ERA in June was 3.72. His ERA in July so far is 3.75. I don't think that tells the full story because in May he was still bulk reliever, right?
Mm-hmm. And partly unpitchable in some situations.
Do we remember the first time he rejoined the rotation? Was it in Seattle?
I think it might have been Seattle.
Was it this game in Seattle? Let me pull up the box score. Let me see if he started. This is very easy to find out. No, Austin Warren started, so it wasn't there. So was it against San Diego? He only pitched 4 innings in this game. So because I nope, that was Brasban in front of him. I want to find when it was Sean Manaea returned to the rotation.
Like a bona fide starter, not just the bulk guy.
So it was against the Braves. So I'm going to read you his stat line since returning to the rotation. 6 innings, 2 earned runs against the Braves. 5 1/3, 2 earned runs against the Phillies. He only went 3 innings against the Cubs and allowed 4 earned runs.
That was bad. Yeah.
That was bad. 5 2/3 against the Blue Jays, 2 earned runs. 5 innings, 3 earned runs, 6 runs in total against the Braves. That was every bit Tyrone Taylor and Francisco Lindor not knowing how to play the center field. Not catching the ball. And then yesterday, 7 innings, 2 earned runs. He did give up the 2 home runs. He has given up 4 home runs in the month of July. But 108 pitches against the Braves, 97 pitches yesterday. Andy Green just was like, yeah, just keep going out there. Yeah, we're riding with you. I loved it. I loved it. He looked good. Man, if Manaea, again, we'll use the term pitchable like we did with Kodai Senga, but I think it's even more than that. If Sean Manaea can be a number 4 or number 5 starter, I mean, the Mets just desperately need somebody that can fill that role, and it is so encouraging that he's looked as good as he has the last couple times out.
It's really fun, and it's really good to see the way that he's getting these results. Like, he's not going necessarily for the strikeouts. Like, he's letting guys put the ball in play. He obviously had 6 in this game, which is nice, but over 7 innings. It's also how much he's attacking, just generally attacking the strike zone. The lack of walks, 97 pitches, 68 of them were strikes. That means, quick math, 29 of them were balls. Like, that's the kind of outing that Andy Green is looking for from some of these younger guys. And he's going to look at Christian Scott after a Sean Manaea start like this and be like, see how he's attacking the strike zone, see how he's not allowing walks and letting the fielders behind him go to work. Like, that's the kind of approach that the young guys need to have as well so that they can go deeper into games. That's the approach every pitcher in this rotation, frankly, needs to have going forward so that they can go deeper into games and save the bullpen a little bit. This is just a nice, I said it before, this is a vintage 2024 Sean Manaea start where he goes deep. You feel good the whole time. Maybe a little shaky at the end where he started giving up some more hard hit balls, but generally really encouraging for his future for at least the rest of this year in the rotation.
I mean, Jack, it's crazy. I'm looking at the box score. The Mets only used 3 pitchers yesterday. I didn't know that was allowed.
I don't know why they don't do that every day, Chris.
Sean Manaea, Oscar Brazaban, Devin Williams. I didn't know you could only use 3 pitchers. That's a rule that the Mets should exploit. They should take advantage of that.
They should do that. They should do that every day. I don't know why they don't do that every day.
You don't have to use 5 or 6 pitchers every single night.
It is pretty remarkable how 2 months ago we were talking about what the Mets were going to have to do with Sean Manaea's contract. It felt like they were going to have to dump him or eat some of the money and just let him go. Kind of I'm already blanking on his name. The pitcher that they got last year that was so bad and had the player option.
Frankie Montas.
Thank you.
Montas.
And I thought Sean Manaea was going to be another Frankie Montas situation. Stearns gives him the 3-year extension coming out of 2024, and we're like, oh God, it already has aged so horribly. And
do you know the
out of
meme?
Nowhere, I'm like, I'm ready to put him into the rotation in 2027.
Do you know the meme where the woman is kind of like, she's just kind of making the face of like, I don't know. That's me with Sean Manaea.
Yeah.
They're like, maybe he's okay again. Maybe he can stick around. So yeah, it was great. Mark Vientos did leave this game after getting hit on the hand by a pitch. He's going to be placed on the injured list. Probably going to miss some significant time. That did allow us to see something that from the moment Marcus Semien went down with an injury was something I wanted to see, and that's A.J. Ewing at second base.
Mm-hmm.
And so A.J. Ewing now can play 2 positions really well, second base and center field. And Gary mentioned this on the broadcast, but Luis Robert's going to come back here at some point. And the DH spot is going to kind of be some combination of Francisco Alvarez, Luis Robert, Jorge Polanco, because I think they're going to want to keep all those guys, especially in the case of Polanco and Robert, not on the field every day, especially in the case of Polanco. And so Ewing is going to have to find another position because they're going to get Robert in there in center field. And with Semien out, second base does feel like a nice spot for him. And, I'm going to make a second meme reference. Do you know the tired, wired meme?
Yes. Yep.
Tired, Jeff McNeil, center field, second base. Wired, A.J. Ewing, center field, second base. What an upgrade on the concept of Jeff McNeil. A.J. Ewing is as a potential, utility player, Swiss Army knife. Also, Brett Beatty just continues to get hits.
Is actually turning things around as well.
Carson Benj has been great.
Ewing, I don't think he had a put out at second base when he moved over, but he did have that ball up the middle that he managed to get to. That was like, that guy has range no matter where he's playing. It's kind of absurd,
which is fantastic.
It's really fun.
He is so fun to watch.
Yeah,
he's so fun to watch.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I said it at the top of the episode. Like, it feels like everything is coming up A.J. Ewing right now. And like, not to mention Juan Soto is like fun to be on my baseball team. Like, I like watching Juan Soto play
Yeah,
for my baseball team because he hits the ball hard. He's really good.
it's a hot take by you, but yes, Juan Soto, good at baseball and fun to watch at baseball.
Also, this is what I was trying to say, and I forgot what I was saying. Tyrone Taylor hitting home runs again this year.
It's
so like
6
as we wait for Luis
and
Robert and we're stuck without Mark Vientos. Like, I'm fine having Tyrone Taylor make some starts in center field right now if he's going to be hitting the way that he's hit over the last month.
Yeah,
since he came back from the injury.
All of a sudden finding some pop. He's got 6 home runs on the season, and he only has 122 plate appearances. So he's found it a little bit in the power department. And the one thing about Tyrone, and this is true for some other players, like Soto, and Soto's the name that immediately jumps. But there are times where Tyrone hits the ball, and I go, oh, he got that one. That's gone. Like, he has that swing where I know when he gets one, and it's going to leave the park. And that was the homer he hit yesterday, where you just knew, you're like, oh, that one's gonna get out in a hurry.
Yeah.
My assumption would be Ronnie Mauricio, the move for Mark Vientos, because it's an injury, they can recall Mauricio. So that feels like what they're going to do. Other batters they have on the 40-man, Hayden Singer, Nick Morabito, MJ Melendez. And I think they're going to want an infielder, and Mauricio can play 3 different infield positions. So.
And he's a switch hitter.
Right. So, well, yeah, technically. So that feels like it's going to be the move there. They promoted Dan Hammer into their bullpen. We have not gotten a chance to see. I mean, this dude strikes out the side. Gary's going to say, put the hammer down. I mean, there's the lock of the century.
I mean, you have to be good if your name is Dan Hammer.
I need every like Thor hammer pun Gary and Keith can come up with, or I think it's Gary and Ron over the weekend that they've got for when we see Dan Hammer. And speaking of the weekend, it's a 3-game series with the Boston Red Sox. Nolan McLean goes tonight against Sonny Gray, Freddie Peralta against Brian Bayo on Saturday. And sorry, Fangraphs, you can put Kodai Senga down as the projected starter as much as you want. That is not going to happen on Sunday.
Correct.
So, against Jake Bennett for the we were supposed to face Ranger Suarez, but he's hurt, so not going to face him in this series over the weekend. Yeah, I mean, it's just good times. Oh, Clay Holmes apparently wants to sign an extension with the New York Mets.
Yes.
Considering the pitching problems the Mets have had this season, please do that.
Do that now. Do that today.
Please do that. Please extend Clay Holmes.
We've seen how good he was last season over a full course of the year. I think he was the starter with the most innings pitched of all of the Mets starters in 2025, despite transitioning from a relief role. Obviously, this year, he was the Mets' best starter for a month, and then he got injured. Sign me up for more years of Clay Holmes starting, because I am convinced that the David Stearns experiment to convert him from a reliever to a starter has been successful.
Trade Freddie Peralta, extend Clay Holmes. Don't trade Clay Holmes and extend Freddie Peralta.
Yes, please, please. We can see Clay Holmes can go deep into games occasionally. Freddie Peralta's deep into a game is 6 innings.
And by the way, it's the whole Clay Holmes thing that is just one of a plethora of examples that I can point to as to why I'm like, maybe we just keep David Stearns for just another season. Like, that was some really good GMing right there. Like, to take to identify him as a potential starting option. And Clay Holmes he probably wasn't going to ultimately be in the conversation because Jacob Mizorowski and Christopher Sanchez are just insane. But he was the best pitcher in the National League for a little bit there. Like, that's how good he was.
Yes, he was the Mets leader in WAR until like mid-May when Soto came back from his injury.
So extend him, please. Yes. And he just feels like the perfect leader. And I hate to use an injury in this way, but you could tell how much Clay meant to everybody in that room with how they reacted to the injury. And like, those are the types of guys you want in your clubhouse. If, Lindor and Soto aren't getting along, according to, former New York sports radio host, and they're going to trade Lindor this offseason. If you have a quote-unquote culture problem, which I don't think the Mets do, but if you do, like, Clay Holmes is the type of guy that you want to keep in that clubhouse because he clearly galvanizes the room in many ways. So
yeah, he's something of a linchpin for not just the rotation, but like the whole clubhouse.
Good player, good human, good person. Keep those players around. That's just my suggestion to the New York Mets.
Well, I got it. Like, just if we're signing former Yankees to extensions, like Luke Weaver, pen to paper.
This is my biggest hot take right now in Mets land. I would trade Luke Weaver the moment I get a good offer.
Yeah, I mean,
I
realistically correct. But
I
we're talking
know,
about good player, good human.
I know. He can handle New York. I understand all of that. Because he has an extra year of control, I think the return for Luke Weaver is going to be stupid.
It
I
should
think
be. The
it's
Mets
gonna be
better. The Mets
insane.
better.
You set the bar way high, and if nobody meets it, you're cool keeping Luke Weaver and Devin Williams as the back half of your
100%.
bullpen. Yeah,
Yeah.
no question. But man, if somebody comes in and offers you like a top 100 prospect in all of baseball, like for a reliever,
Yeah, I mean, what are we doing?
what are we doing here? Like we just accept it. I think that's it on the trade front. I don't really know if there's anything else. I mean, we did the Lindor stuff last episode, and I don't really want to rehash it because it's not worth rehashing.
Yeah.
They're not trading Francisco Lindor. Although, and I'm going to put you in an impossible situation here.
Oh boy.
And I apologize in advance, but I need to read a Bob Nightingale tweet from yesterday because this tweet was something. Even when the Mets win, they lose. First baseman Mark Vientos suffers a broken right hand and goes on the IL, most likely taking him off the trade market. Bob, he wasn't on the trade market. Who was trading for Mark Vientos? No offense to Mark, and I'm gutted that he's has the broken right hand. And listen, it hasn't worked here, but I still think Mark is trying. This is again the team he grew up rooting for, so he wants this more than we want this for him. So I'm gutted for him. Nobody was trading for Mark Vientos. Like that just was not at the trade deadline.
Not at the trade deadline. No,
Nobody was looking at Mark Vientos' like 211 batting average. What's his OPS this season? I can look at this very quickly. His 644 OPS and going, that's the righty bat that I need for a postseason push. Like that wasn't happening.
And a guy who doesn't really fit in defensively.
Right, he can't really play first base.
You hope he can be a fill-in platoon DH, but he's not even been hitting that well this season. So I don't think he was really on the trade market, and I don't know how much Bob has been paying attention to the Mets closely to know that Mark Vientos since 2024 is not the Mark Vientos that played in 2024.
Yeah, I just don't know if there was a market for him. Not maybe in the winter, as one of those failed prospects for failed prospect trades that we see every so often. But
sure,
no, he was
Luis
not
Robert and Luis Angel Acuna.
Yes, right, exactly. All right, that's going to do it for us here on another edition of the Believe in Mets pod. We will be back on Monday to recap everything from this Red Sox series. Hopefully the Mets can keep it rolling, man. I mean, their first series win in over a month. They've won 4 of 5.
Red Sox are also a struggling team.
Yeah, they're playing better, I think, as of late. What is it,
so
6
are the Mets.
in a row? It's true. It's a great point by you. Yes, they have won 6 in a row, the Red Sox. They're 8-2 in their last 10, but they are still 5 games below 500. So they aren't the Tampa Bay Rays. Like I'd much rather face the Red Sox than the Tampa Bay Rays or the Braves or the Brewers. But they are a team that's playing really well. So are the Mets, and we'll see if the Mets can. Again, they've got basically a bullpen game on Sunday, so tonight and tomorrow, super important in terms of getting some length from your starters so that you have your bullpen fresh and ready to go for that game on Sunday. So we're back on Monday to break it all down. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Jack McKessy, McKessy, for the video version of the pod. Rate, review, subscribe to us wherever you are listening to us, whatever podcast platform you use to listen to Believe in Mets. Man, fun. I know the Mets are still 14 games below 500, but the future of the Mets appears bright. And, AJ Ewing, Carson Bench, Juan Soto, Christian Scott, Sean Manaea, just so much fun from this series. And these are the things that we need right now as Mets fans.
If there's any proof that winning cures everything, we didn't even bring up the horrible ABS challenges from this series. So,
you know what? I'm not even going to do it because we would be going for another 12 minutes with how bad this team is with ABS challenges. But a great observation by you that, yes, when you win, those things kind of get forgotten about.
Yes.
That is going to do it for us. We're back on Monday to break down the Red Sox series. As always, let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets.